Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maureen O'Connor from Quilters Heaven in Northbrook, Illinois, and I am the Opinionated Quilter. Today's episode number 166 is On Point Quilts, a great way to use scraps. But before we get to that, let me apologize to all of the viewers who did not like my pronunciation of the word selvage. I had no idea I was saying salvage. I know the difference of the two words. The correct word for the edge of the fabric that is more tightly woven than the rest of the fabric is an E, selvage. So I apologize. I will try to watch that in the future. Okay, the episode is On Point Quilts, and behind me I have two very similar quilts, and I normally wouldn't show two examples that are so close, but there are things here that I want to point out. Before we get to the why and how of making On Point Quilts, let me just point out these differences. They're two very, very similar patterns. However, in this one, I have it separated, the blocks separated with cornerstones and sashings. And in this one, I have alternate blocks. I have some of the blocks bordered in the maroon and some of the blocks bordered in the gray. The other thing is the huge difference in the way I did the layout. In this one, I did a pattern. It's all exactly opposite. So these come together in the center. Each full width of fabric, you get two blocks. So these come together here, but you can see here these go opposite, these go opposite, so on and so forth. The upper right and the upper left corner are the same. The lower right and the upper left, you can't see the lower ones here on the camera, but trust me, you can see that they are all opposites. This is the same as this one, this is the same as this one, and it goes on all the way like that. Totally planned set. In this one, same thing. You get two blocks from each full width of fabric strip set. So here, there's no rhyme or reason as to where any of the blocks are. I just tried to keep the same ones not close together. So I'm even having a hard time seeing where two are the same that you can see on camera. But at any rate, totally different way to lay out your blocks. And whichever one you do is okay. It's entirely up to you. Now, I want to talk about why we would want to make On Point quilts. There are a few reasons why we like to do quilts on point. One of the major things, it can really change the look of the block. And Trudy Hughes wrote the book on Point Quilts. This is her book, and it's from 1992. And everything she says still is true as far as I know. But in this book, she did shows a quilt block set straight and then on point. See how different they look. This is set straight. And now look at the same exact block on point. Really, really different. The two behind me, not so much from the block, but look at the inspiration of mine for this one. This was from McCall's magazine. I think it's 2010. Yes, September, October 2010. It's called Dutch Breeze. They're just the blocks set all together. No separation. And straight across. Look at how different that looks from that picture. So that's a major reason people like to do On Point quilts. It's for the aesthetics of how the block looks. Another reason is less blocks can make a larger quilt. Now, mind you, this is not going to save you any fabric because you still need your setting triangles. You need half square triangles for the corners, quarter square triangles for the side setting. And if you're designing your own and you don't have a pattern that tells you how big to make these, I've shown you before the charts. There's the chart from Bonnie Hunter at Quiltville, and I've showed this to you before. We printed it out in 2013. It's been on our website since 2005. So while we can all do the math, there's no reason to do the math because it's all in a chart for us. Now, how to get to it, Bonnie Hunter's website is quiltville.com. There's a tab you can click that says Tips and Techniques. And then it has an alphabetical listing of all the topics. You need to scroll all the way down to the O's and you will see On Point Settings. And that's where you will find this chart. And she does explain how to do the math. In Trudy Hughes's book, she also tells you how to do the math. And also Kimberly from the Fat Quarter Shop also has a chart. So there's no reason you can't design your own quilt the way you want to, even if you're not all that great at math, because it's all there for you. Now, let's talk about the number of blocks. In On Point Quilts, it's different numbers of blocks work better for the On Point versus straight set. Here's a real classic example. 9 blocks, 3 by 3. Now for a similar size, although this is larger, 8 blocks, it's one block, then a row of 3 blocks, row of 3 blocks, 1 block. So this takes 8 blocks, actually makes a bigger quilt, but of course this has no side setting triangles. These have the side setting triangles. In fact, Corey Yoder a couple years ago had a video and she said, what should I do with these 8 blocks I have? She wanted to be done with the quilt, but she only had 8 blocks, and she said she was deciding whether she was going to make a 9th block or do what. And I said, set it on point. Use the 8 you have. You don't have to make a 9th. She thought that was a great idea, but she really didn't like the quilt anymore at all, so she ended up giving away the blocks to somebody who wanted them and would put them together. But these are the reasons why. Now let's get to the how. Okay, how do we make an on-point quilt? Our rows are diagonal. So like I showed earlier, you have 1 here, there's 3 here, 1 here on a 5-block quilt. You start with 1 block, the next row goes up by 2, and you keep going up by 2 until you get to the width that you want. How do you know the width that you want? The diagonal measurement of a square is 1.414 bigger than the size square. So if you have a 12-inch square, you get a 17-inch across measurement. So 17 and 17, this would be 34 across. This one is 3 times 17 if you were using a 12-inch block. I'm just using 12-inch block as an example. You could plug in any number you want. And you would get this 51 across. If you're doing a square quilt, once you get to that width you want, whether it's 3 blocks, 5 blocks, 7 blocks, whatever odd number of blocks, you then go down by 2 to get back to the single square. That will give you a square quilt. What if you want a rectangular quilt? Here's an example of a rectangular quilt. I went 1, 3, 5. Instead of, and I said, that's 51, that's as wide as I want it. Instead of going down to 3 here, you do 5 again, dropping it down 1. And then you go down by 2 till you get to the bottom square. Now, if you wanted, say, a table runner and you wanted something super long, you could keep repeating the width number. So in this case, if this was a real small block and you wanted something super long, you'd keep repeating the 5, 5, 5, keep going down until you got the length you wanted, and then you would then go back down the number 2 blocks. So then the next one would be 3 blocks, down 2 again. The next block would be 1. Hope this is clear. It's a little complicated, but if you look at the picture, it makes sense. Now, one thing I want to point out is that you will see things that say this is set 2 by 2. Well, 2 by 2 equals 4, and there's 5 blocks here. You will see people call this 3 by 4. Well, that equals 12. There are 18 blocks in this quilt, in this picture of a diagram of a quilt. This book is from Interweave Press, a really good outfit. I mean, they do a beautiful job. In the back here on settings, that's exactly what they do. They say this is set 3 by 4. That's just not correct. Rows in straight set are calculated differently than rows in on-point settings. I've seen a few exceptions to the rule, but it will almost always be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, how many ever wide you want to make it, and then back down the same way. Have I missed anything on here? Yeah, I talked about this. For square, you get to your width, then go back down with just one middle row, and then rectangle, you repeat. And in this case, you'd only do 1 extra row because this is 17 inches. If you did 2 of these row 5s, this would be up to, what, 85? That's just 51 by 85 doesn't make any sense. So the other thing is the calculation of how many squares you're setting triangles you're going to need. When it's a square quilt, you will always use a divisible by 4. So you will use all of your squares cut into quarter square triangles. You always need 2 half square triangles because there's always 4 corners. In the rectangulars, you only need 10 of the quarter square triangles. In this example, in other sizes you need more, but almost always in rectangulars, not always, but almost always, you will have 2 quarter square triangles that you don't use. It just, it's a little bit of waste that has to go into your scrap bin, but I'm sure you can find a use for your side setting triangles. Let's get on to alternate blocks because the math on this I think is important. This is an example of the alternate blocks. I showed an example before of an 18 block quilt. If you've got 2 different colors of frames or totally alternate blocks, a totally different block, like here is the 2 different colors of frames, you can't just say 18 divided by 2 is 9. I'm going to make 9 burgundy and 9 gray. Doesn't work. We talked about how in On Point Quilts it's always an odd number of quilt blocks in each row. When you're doing alternate block quilts, or alternate block layouts, I should say, you have 1 more A block in every single row than you do B block. So here's an example of the 8 block layout that I showed before. If you're doing 2 different blocks, A, B, A, A, B, A, A. And you can clearly see here that there's 6 A's and 2 B's. But if there was a whole lot of blocks like we've got here, the way to calculate it is like so. 8 blocks, and this has 4 rows. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. So we know because there's 4 rows, you have 4 A's to start with. So now we have 4 left, 4 blocks left, because we've already taken 4 out here. So 8 minus 4 is 4, divided by 2, you now have 2 A's and 2 B's. So your 4 A's and 2 A's is 6 A's and 2 B's. Easy to see here. Let's do it with the 18 block example. The 18 block layout had 6 rows. So we know we start with 6 A's. So if we have 18 blocks and 6 are already A's, 18 minus 6 is 12. So you have 12 left. 12 divided by 2, you have 6 A's and 6 B's. So now your 6 A's and 6 A's gives you a total of 12 A's and 6 B's. And that's how you calculate how many you need of each. I really hope this helps. On Point Quilts can really be stunning. And as I said in the very beginning, great scrap quilts. Both of these quilts behind me are all from scraps, with minor exception. I had the burgundy in my stash, and I had to pull the gray, or maybe it was vice versa. I remember I only had to pull one. I bet I had to pull the burgundy, because I wouldn't have had this much probably. So I had the gray and had to pull the burgundy. But all here, 1.5-inch strips and 2.5-inch strips. The major thing you have to do is make sure you have high contrast, or you won't see the pinwheel shape. And the first one is just all 2.5-inch strips, all from the scrap heap. So if you're looking for some quilts to use up those 1.5 and 2.5-inch strips, these are really good options. And you don't have to do them on point if you don't want to. You can absolutely do them straight across. These change somewhat, but not nearly as dynamic as the one I showed you from Trudy Hughes. So that's the episode. Don't be afraid of On Point Quilts. Let's get to the winners of our contest, our giveaway, I should say. The winner of the zigzag bundle, and I'm not sure I'm going to say her name correctly, Susan Murai, 4110. So that's SUSANMURAI 4110. Please send your mailing address to me at quiltersheaveninc@gmail.com. And this week's giveaway is another bunch of fat quarters, all donated. I tried to make this one a little less matchy than the last one. They do have all colors of this in it, but I threw other fat quarters that seem to go nicely with them. I think there's 12. I'd have to recount to be sure, but it's a nice bundle of fabric. It's all first quality, quilt shop quality fabric. So if you'd like to win this and you need a U.S. Mailing address for me to send it to, because I use the U.S. Postal Service boxes and envelopes, you know what to do. Like this video, comment on this video, and subscribe to my channel. And put in the comment another fat quarter bundle. And that's what we're going to call this one. Keep watching, please. Keep the comments coming. Any ideas for content for videos? Still looking for them. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a fabulous week. Happy sewing.